Domino's was founded in 1960 in the US. However, since 1983, Domino's has extended its global reach to include more than 70 international markets and more than 5,000 stores. After a 10-year absence in 2010, Domino's re-entered the Singapore market. This team is interested in analyzing Domino's because Domino's is dedicated to standardizing the customer experience. However, it recognizes the need for some adaptation in order to address the cultural and societal differences encountered in each individual market. We believe this is an illustration of glocalization, in which the company adopts specific elements from other cultures without losing its own identity. For example, in order to adapt to the Singaporean market, Domino's incorporated local flavors such as sambal into the pizza. Neither Singapore nor Domino's has lost its identity. Instead, they're adding new characteristics and both becoming more eclectic.
An effective metaphor draws upon pre-existing cultural understandings and localized values. Domino's relies upon such metaphors in both their websites. On the US site, we can find several metaphors. One metaphor is a wrapped present, which a user can click on to purchase a gift card. Another is an apple, which symbolizes healthy menu options. Finally, we see a codicus representing allergen info. The codicus is taken from Greek culture and shows two snakes intertwining on a staff. For someone who is an American, this would not make a lot of sense. However, in the United States, it is often associated with medicine. On the Singapore site, we can find a scooter used to show pizza delivery. Scooters are a more common form of transportation in Singapore than the United States. However, there is evidence to suggest that the Singapore site has less usage of localized metaphors. This could be one reason for our survey results showing that Americans were more satisfied with the US site than Singaporeans were with the Singapore site. While the metaphors on the Singapore site are evident, Domino's could invest more in developing localized metaphors to increase user satisfaction. Colors and their meanings differ by cultures. Domino's recognizes these meanings and incorporates them into both their sites. The main Domino's colors are red, white, and blue, and can be seen on both sites. The color red symbolizes love, passion, and excitement in Western cultures. In Eastern cultures, red symbolizes joy and happiness. The color blue in Western cultures symbolizes soothing feelings as well as trust. In Eastern cultures, it represents immortality. White symbolizes marriage and peace in the Western cultures. In Eastern cultures, white can symbolize death and coldness. However, white accompanied with red symbolizes joy. Domino's uses all three of these colors throughout both their sites. It is interesting to see that Domino's makes use of the color yellow in many places on the Singapore site. There are bold yellow fonts on the homepage of the Singapore site, as well as many yellow pictures on the menu page. This could be attributed to yellow meaning nourishment in Eastern cultures.
Okay, for the US website, there's a heavy emphasis on legal issues at the bottom half to ensure liabilities are stated up front. For the various US states, term of use policy can contain important disclaimers and other provisions that help govern the use of the website. For the Singapore website, privacy policies are listed with tiny fine prints unlike the large emphasis in the US website. Secondly, the prominent display of purchasable gift cards, as this is a part of an American culture of gifts for friends and family. Studies have shown that Americans find it so much easier to purchase a practical gift card than trying to find the perfect gift. In Singapore, this culture is almost non-existent, and explains why the Singapore website does not have any form of purchasable gift cards like the US website. Next, to Singapore website, study shows that the Singaporeans are viewed as bicultural of Western and Eastern cultures and are primed with visual stimuli. Impatience grows on the Singaporeans if they are not able to see and order quickly. Therefore, in the Singapore website, the display of a large quick order button is obvious versus multiple small order now buttons in the US website. Lastly, with Singapore multi-ethnic society, it's important to cater to our Muslim counterparts, and the halal logo is imperative to them. The halal logo is listed at the bottom navigation bar of the Singapore website, where it can be easily seen by the user. In the US, or there's a substantial number of Muslims living in the country, this is not taken into consideration for the development of the US Domino website.
The anarchist approach is centralized as its content is translated but is not sensitive to the local market. In other words, it is not adapted to the regional market. This approach is more popular with bilingual communities and centralized international organizations. The anarchist approach is when there are multiple local sites without coordination, meaning each website is using a different design, and it rarely requires translation because its content is produced locally and independently from the original website. The subsidiary approach includes both global and local contents. The global content is produced centrally, which is then adapted for the local community. The Domino's US website uses the monarchist approach, as its development is centralized because it is the same main website that is being used across the United States. In other words, it is not adapted to the different local cultures there. Yet, it is translated to the Spanish language as it is the second spoken language in America. The Domino's Singapore website uses the subsidiary approach, as the global content is adapted to the local market through locally developed content. In Singapore, the first language is English, so there are no translation challenges as the website is being produced in the preferred local language.
We have several recommendations for the US site. Eye tracking research has shown that Westerners read websites in an F-shaped pattern. The F-shaped pattern refers to viewing order. Users start by reading across the top, typically a navigational bar, followed by the left column, and finally the center content. Major sites such as Facebook and Google+ have adopted this pattern. The Domino's US site places relevant pieces of information, such as special deals, on the right column. We would relocate that content to the left side to adopt the F-shaped pattern. This would better fit the customer's mental model and increase loyalty. Another recommendation for the US site would be to remodel the footer. Currently, the footer contains information such as warnings about their gluten-free pizza and a money-back guarantee. We believe that this information is part of the reason for such high reported levels of trust and loyalty on our survey results for American respondents. However, there is still a lot of information on the footer that clutters the page and may be offensive to Americans, such as reminding them to tip the drivers. Additionally, there is some information that most Americans already know, such as being open for lunch. We would like to isolate the important information such as the allergen and money-back guarantee information to keep the high levels of trust, and remove the negative sounding text to increase levels of loyalty. Additionally, we would remove that redundant text such as being open for lunch, since Americans already know that. This makes the footer less crowded and only keeps the information that users would like. Furthermore, Americans are used to viewing one long bar for the footer, so this would preserve their mental model, as opposed to their original design, which split the footer into two columns. A last recommendation that we would suggest for both the US and Singapore site would be to change the user account permissions. On both sites, a user must log into the Domino's system to view a significant amount of information. Orders can only be placed while a user is logged in. Even information such as viewing menu item details are restricted to signed-in users. We believe that the lengthy process of signing in is irritating and discourages loyalty. To increase loyalty, our changes to the Domino's site would make ordering and signing up into a one-step process that would allow users to fill a shopping cart and only sign up or sign in when making the final transaction.
For the first change on the Domino's Singapore website's homepage, we recommend the redesign of the bottom navigation bar for better aesthetics. Firstly, links are repeated with different names, lacking consistency. For example, help and contact us are essentially the same links. Secondly, secondary information such as copyright and browse information should be placed outside the template to reduce clutteredness. Thirdly, operation hours should be as prominent as the delivery hotline number.
With the Singapore Domino's Pizza, we have noticed a couple of problems with their GPS tracker service. On the homepage, the logo of the GPS tracker is displayed twice. Once at the top of the page, a really small logo, and a bigger one at the bottom of the page. Once you click any of them, they both lead you to the same page, which requires you to log in. This not only distracts the user from his main goal for visiting the website, but it also raises satisfactory issues. Also, trust issue may occur, as some users may think that this pop is not related to the website.
Throughout this project, we had the opportunity to learn a lot as a team. For example, we learned how to overcome time zone challenges, as well as manage our work through different cultural holidays, such as the Super Bowl and Chinese New Year. Additionally, we learned how to use new software such as Google Hangout. Also, we learned about each other's cultural backgrounds as we spoke with each other and texted and got to know one another. Now I'm going to pass it off to Ryan, who's going to talk to you about what we did well as a team.
All right, thanks, Andres. So we felt that we did a lot of things well as a team. Firstly, obviously, Singapore and the US are on the other sides of the globe, so despite the time zone challenges, we were still able to effectively distribute the work. As Andres had mentioned, we did use the Google Hangout, and that allowed us to both chat with each other using video conference, but at the same time pull up spreadsheets and documents. So we were able to plan ahead for the next phase during the Hangouts. We also had representatives on both sides of the teams that would fill in missing team members if someone had to miss a meeting. And finally, we used texting software such as WhatsApp and GroupMe so that we could give constant feedback to our team members whenever something new arose. So now I'm going to pass it off to Ziad, who will tell us about what we could have done better.
Thank you, Ryan. So there are a few things that we would have liked to work more on, such as finishing our phase reports earlier, just because of our heavy schedules, not because of any problems we faced. The second thing we would have liked to change was have a regular weekly meeting with a set time and date, but that couldn't happen because of the difference in time zones, of course, and the difference in schedules. The last thing we would have liked to work on was conveying a clearer and more detailed message for our phase 1 report. I'd like to pass the floor to Eugene now, who's in Singapore.
For Doodle, someone took up the role of an admin of the Doodle account and emailed everyone to fill out the availability. However, we felt that it's a long process. An admin has to also keep track of the Doodle account to ensure that everyone has their input. Doing it differently, we would have asked everyone directly through a communication medium such as WhatsApp. And for WhatsApp, we can gather everyone's mobile number and create a group chat. This helped to create instantaneous response for everyone in the group. Time taken to reply now is remarkably faster than traditional emails. Impromptu and informal setting help to remove barriers in communication. Doing it differently for WhatsApp, we felt that the reliance on technology has made physical meeting less often. So in hindsight, we would have wanted to meet up more often physically within each country team. And lastly, for email. Email is an effective use of important information and workload distribution. Keep everyone in the loop of the discussed information in case if anyone misses a virtual meeting.
We recommend that you agree on a weekly common time slot, such as every Saturday 10 p.m. for example, that works fine for everyone to save time of finding time slots every now and then. We also recommend that you get into a common communication platform as soon as possible to facilitate fast communication. We've used several tools to get this project going. First one, we used Google Hangout to hold our virtual meetings. It allows simultaneous note-taking from everyone and viewing the files at the same time. We've also used Google Docs. It's a great solution for multi-users accessibility and editing. It also has the revision history function, which allows us to see who did what and at what time, and it allows us also to revert to changes if necessary. The last tool we used was YouTube. It's a hassle-free and fast upload of videos with the background compression technology. Makes it easy for non-technical users to upload videos to the masses.